Okay, so open up to approximately 886.
I need sex. I've literally
886.
Yup, that's it. Next time we go to the winery, you're leaving the 886. No. I'm gonna get a quick max in after school. I'm shooting for like 155, but yeah, that's really what I'm shooting for. I'm expecting like 150. Cool. That's great, Don. Is that W missing again, or is that L?
I don't know how to respond. I have no idea what you mean. Figure 8 on page 886. Okay, if the left caption is a reptilian brain, the middle is an avian brain, and then as you can see on the right is a mammalian brain. What is it that is structurally different with each corresponding picture? Just tell me. The brains are approximately the same size, but one of the aspects that we attribute to mammals, especially that of primates and humans, is to think abstractly. Okay, and what that means is to think abstractly is to problem solve different types of scenarios, if you want to call it that. I know Mr. Wagner gave examples of, for instance, different types of primates like the orangutan, I think is what sounds out or resides in my memory banks. And that is for those animals to take a stick of some sort and then take that stick and down into a specific or an anthill and pull that back out, and that's just a way that they can go through a process of food gathering. It's one of the things that not only can mammals think abstractly, but they can learn, okay? So with those types of experiences to where one orangutan sees one taking a stick and sticking it down into an ant mound, he's getting lots of desirable food. What do you think that next orangutan is going to do? Same thing. So that's one of the aspects that sets humans and mammals apart from other aspects, is because one of the things that you can see, yes, I understand that the reptilian brain really isn't quite as large, but why is it that there's so much more cortex in a mammalian brain? Well, that's true, but physically. No, head's not necessarily bigger, but structurally looking at that diagram, why is it that there's no? It's something very unique for mammalian brains. Just by looking. Yeah, yes, we're talking about the cerebral cortex, but what about that as opposed to the other two? Yes. In other words, you're fitting 2, maybe 3 times the amount of that cerebrum, which means the cortex, about 3 times as much in the same space. And the only way to do that is form those different types of bulges. So that's why we consider mammals being way up on top as far as intelligence, and especially primates. Okay. So next, I want you to look at page 892 because this is such a big part of this chapter. What starts on page 892? The different orders. Okay, so just follow along. Order Insectivora. As the name implies, these mammals, these mammals' main food source is insects. Okay, hence the name of the insectivoran order. The shrew, shown in figure 14, as an insectivoran, as the hedgehogs and moles. Okay, figure 14 is an insectivore, as are hedgehogs and moles. Okay, members of order Insectivora usually are small, have pointed snouts, and allow them to capture insects easily. Shrews include the smallest of mammals. Shrews can be found in almost all parts of the world and spend most of their lives underground. That's, I think we had talked about that. No, that was with the zoology class because they are doing and talking about mammals as well. When we think of anteaters, okay, hence the name anteaters, are they in the order Insectivora because they eat ants? No, they are not. But they eat insects. Why are they not in the order Insectivora?
Some of them are marsupials and some of them are whatever.
No, they're not marsupials. Could you say that again? That is part of it, yes. That's true. Because if you are a larger mammal, what does it say that where you find these moles and shrews and hedgehogs? Underground. If you are, like you had mentioned, just the opposite. You said that insectivorans are smaller, which is true, which means anteaters would be larger. Would it be very easy for an animal that size to move through burrowing, move through the ground, burrowing from one part of the terrain to another? Of course, the answer is no. So even though they have the same type of diet or similar diet, they're in two totally different orders. Okay? And that was the main concept that we had discussed this morning in that of our zoology class. Okay? So looking at that figure 14, what adaptation do you see makes that very, very easy to move through the soil? Why is that important?
They can push it away with their...
They can do that, but think of even airplanes. You don't have a box in front of an airplane. Why not?
Because the wind resistance.
Yeah, because the aerodynamics would be horrible. So for the same reason, it's easier to push a pointed snout through the soil as opposed to a big, you could say, big box. Okay. So even if we didn't say anything about chiropterans, we would expect that you would know two characteristics about chiropterans. They can fly. What else? Okay, that's true. It's not one of the things that we had discussed, but you're not wrong. That's true too. Okay? And doesn't mean their diet is always this, but the majority of it is what? Yeah, insects, because that's what we mean by being nocturnal and using your echolocation. Okay, order Chiroptera. There are about 925 species in order Chiroptera. Okay, so all which are bats. As mentioned previously, bats are the only mammals that can truly fly. Now, why would they say that? There's another type of mammal that we think, yeah, we see it glide through the air.
A squirrel.
It's okay, so what type of squirrel? They call it a flying squirrel, but it's not flying though. It's just gliding. Right, and one of the things that happens is those flaps of skin, okay, in between its points of attachments really slows that animal down, allows them to glide rather than fly. Their wings are thin membranes supported by modified forelimbs. Bats feed on a variety of foods. Some eat insects, some eat fruit, and others feed on the blood. Okay? The most common North American bat is little-known brown bat, which you might have seen swooping and darting at dusk to catch insects. The flying fox is the largest of all bats. It lives in tropical regions worldwide and feeds on fruit. Now, why do you think, and this is a tough question, why might the flying fox feed on fruit and not insects?
Fruits are bigger, so they only need
If they are much bigger, they need to take in more food, and the major source of fuel that we talked about last semester is what? It has 6 atoms of carbon, 12 atoms of hydrogen, and 6 atoms of oxygen. It starts with a G.
glucose.
Yeah, it's glucose. So these fruits are high in glucose and fructose, and it gives a very, very adequate supply of energy for them. Okay, primates, monkeys, apes, humans, okay, it says humans, are all examples of primates. Primates' brains, large cerebral hemisphere, are the most developed brains of all mammals. Most primates are tree dwellers. This leads scientists to hypothesize that the need to perform complex movements while in trees, such as those involved in capturing food and avoiding enemies, led to the advances of the brain structure of primates. Primate forelimbs often adequate for grasping, and most have nails instead of claws. The golden lion tamarin, in figure 18, grasping with its hands and the branch of which it is setting. That's only part of it. If these are tree-dwelling mammals that are going from one tree to another, and it may not just be 10 feet off the ground. It may be 150, it may be 200 feet off the ground. What other adaptation besides the thumb, the hands? In other words, we know that that limb that we're jumping to is about 22 feet away. How would they know that? So what is it that they have that gives them depth perception, like you just said? Well, so do rabbits. They've got eyes. No. So there's something specific about their eyes. We said rabbits. They've got eyes. No. No. They do have peripheral vision. That's true. But just look at the shrew as opposed to that tamarin. What's significant about the eyes?
Oh, they're in front of it.
They are in front instead of in the sides. So that's what we call binocular vision. That's how they know how far something is away. That gives them their specific depth perception. Order Xanthara. Animals in order Xanthara, okay, either have no teeth or have simple peg-like teeth. Anteaters, like the ones shown, are toothless. So we had just discussed, it's an yes.
Do you think people born with their eyes further apart have a better field of vision?
No. Okay, so are toothless. Anteaters have a spiny tongue and lack saliva that allow them to easily capture ants and termites in their nests. Sloths and armadillos both have peg-like teeth. Sloths are mostly feed on leaves, and armadillos feed on insects. Most mammals in this order live in Central America and South America, with the exception of the armadillo, which can be found in the southern United States. Now, they may have better peripheral vision, but I don't think they have better binocular vision. And that's just what I think. That doesn't mean it's accurate. Okay, rodentia. Okay, the gnawing mammals in the order rodentia called rodents include beavers, which are shown in figure 16, rats, woodchucks, marmots, squirrels, hamsters, and gerbils. Rodents make up about 40% of the mammalian species. Now, one aspect that allows that to be possible is one of rodents' strengths. What's a characteristic of being a rodent?
Well, they give birth to multiple babies.
Yeah, that's true, but what did you say?
They give birth to multiple babies.
So it's a very specific term. It starts with the letter P. No. And it's this type of example I'd given to a separate class. Not amateur, but what? What's after the amateur phase?
Pro.
Right. Not pro phase, though.
Pro phase.
What does it mean? Because you said give birth to multiple infants, right? What does that mean, though? It's pro something.
Pro phase.
No. Not pro phase. No. What does I know you wrote this down because we've gone through it. No. How many times do we need to say it is not prophase? You're very close when you say procreate.
Pro hair.
No. Prolific. Yes, they are very prolific.
I was trying to say that.
Okay.
Say that.
All right.
I said that.
Okay, 2 pairs of sharp incisor teeth continue to grow throughout the life of the rodent. They use their sharp teeth. Okay. They use their sharp teeth to gnaw through wood, seed pods, or shells to gather food. Okay. The ability of rodents to invade all land habitats and their successful reproductive behavior have made them ecologically important in all terrestrial ecosystems. Okay, so order Logomophora, who might that be?
Rabbits.
Okay, so like rodents, okay, rabbits are in the order Logomorpha. Rabbits, picas, and hares have long, sharp incisors and continue to grow. Okay, logomorphs also have a pair of peg-like incisors that gnaw behind the first pair. These mammals are herbivores, eat grasses, herbs, fruits, seeds. Okay, the pica lives in high altitudes of environments which is in the grounds covered with snow or parts of the year. The grass eaters adapt to their conditions by harvesting grass during the warm months and storing it. Okay, the pica and then eat the grass during the winter, then no fresh vegetation is available. Okay, carnivora. Even if we didn't go any further, carnivores are very successful. Well, we could say that, so are primates. But in each one of them is going to be adapted to their specific environments. But what are some traits, without reading any further, what are some things that carnivores have? Their teeth. And, okay, their jaws, their claws, and something else.
I was going to say their strength. Their eyes.
Yes, they've got binocular vision. So let's see if that's correct. Okay, you might have a pet dog or cat, along with wolves, bears, seals, walruses, coyotes, skunks, otters, minks, and weasels belong to the order Carnivora. All of these canines are predators with teeth adapted for tearing flesh. That's very important, okay? The lion shown in figure 17 feeds on antelope, giraffes, even crocodiles, okay? After she captures her prey, she uses her incisors to tear off chunks of meat, okay? So teeth, claws, you said a single jawbone, that's certainly an advantage in how it can see. Okay, proboscideans. Even if we didn't read any further, who is a proboscidean?
A jellyfish.
No. It is elephants. That's right. Elephants are the largest living land mammals. They have flexible trunks adapted for gathering plants and taking in water. The upper incisors are modified as tucks for digging up roots and tearing bark from trees. Some elephants are trained to help lift heavy objects. The elephant shown in figure 18 is helping remove debris that washed ashore during a tsunami in Indonesia on December 26th of 2004. That's one of them things to where when that happened, a person knew exactly where they were, just like perhaps you knew exactly where you were when you heard that school was shut down in March of 2020. Okay, and then one of the things that sticks out in my mind about that incident is there was a college student from South Dakota that after this event happened, so the rest of the Western world had no idea that this had happened. She picked up her phone and she got 2 words in. She lived, okay, it has a happy ending. She got 2 words in when she called her parents. She said, well, actually 3. I'm all right, or I'm alive. The phone cut out. So then the rest of the Western world knew about 10 hours later, well, I don't know if it was 10 hours, but there was a really large earthquake that hit on the ocean floor, that those tectonic plates, one flipped over or moved over top of the other. That's why some of those tsunamis were so large. And unfortunately, some of these waves made it all the way across to Africa. Okay, but one of the things, she got 3 words in, I'm okay, and then nothing. So like I said, then about, I don't know, 3-4 hours later, the rest of the Western world's finding out, oh my gosh, my daughter is vacationing on on Christmas break over in Indonesia, but they knew she was okay. That's one of the things I just happen to remember going back to, what would that be, 19 years ago. Okay, it's funny what we can remember from one aspect to another. Okay, order Paracedactylia. Okay, what is everything you can tell me about which animal would be in order Paracedactylia? They're ungulates, but is it cattle?
No.
It is not.
Deer.
It is not deer. Horses, zebras, because what's true about the hooves? Well, so do cattle and deer. They've got hooves too. It's the number of toes, whether they're odd or even. So then you'd say just the opposite of Artidactylia. And then cetaceans, of course, are whales. Okay, so I want to get the rest of this wrapped up today. And then I will hand out your paper, which for those of you who are gone, it is your responsibility, okay? Because we're not going to chase you down and say, you need to be making this up, okay? So is this approximately where we left off?
Yes.
Or else we can... I think we're past this because I remember talking about...
I think we're on endotherm.
Okay, so the opposite of this would be ectothermic. So what would that mean to you?
It goes outward. It goes. It's like,
Yeah, it's the same temperature as its surroundings, because endothermic means you're able to produce heat from within your body. I guess we're just soaking this up. We're just soaking this up, right? Looks like we had a horrible day today. Oh,
it enters through the valve.
all right. All right. So what do we know? Because we talked about this, because I know I took this laser pointer and shot it back at these elephants. Okay?
Their ears.
Well, I know their ears, but what is it that elephants can do? Because they live in extremely hot environments. How can they lower their body temperature?
Their ears.
By putting around their
Okay, wave their ears, that's true, but something about their blood.
Like cool off their blood by getting it out of the internal like stuff.
You might, oh, what I'm perceiving, what you're describing, isn't quite correct, okay? In other words, as even humans, core body temperature goes up. What happens to the veins in your body? Yeah, they start to enlarge. So when that happens, really hot / warm or hot blood from your core makes its way to the surface, and if those veins are much larger, that's going to dissipate more heat. So that's one way that their brain, a mammalian brain, will monitor their internal body temperature. Not all mammals can do this. So it says sweating or panting may take place. So if they're not sweating, they're panting. What mammals would do that?
A dog.
That's one.
No, they wouldn't.
Not cats. You might think so. We already said dogs. Well, those are all canids. This other one is also found on the farm.
A fox.
Not foxes. Pigs. Pigs do not have any sweat glands either. So they have to release that heat through their nose, and that's where they sweat as well.
Do cows sweat or do they?
They can sweat.
They get
Horses can sweat. So you're speaking from firsthand experience? I did not know that either. I had to ask another staff member when it came to horses. So to me, if horses sweat, I don't think it's a stretch of the imagination that bovine also sweat as well. Okay. Does everyone have this content that wants it? Okay.
Yeah.
So, requires large amounts of oxygen and nutrients to maintain a constant body temperature. Now, one of the things that happens is reptiles and amphibians, do they need large amounts of oxygen? They do not.
You're wrong.
Why would they not require large amounts of oxygen?
Because their heat's determined by where they are.
Right, because they're cold-blooded. They are not warm-blooded. Okay? Because, as we said, large amounts of oxygen and nutrients need to be present to maintain that constant body temperature. Cold-blooded animals just lose that heat to their environment, like you had just stated. So, well-developed lungs along with advanced digestive and circulatory systems. Okay? So these are making reference to this. It's one thing to absorb nutrients from your diet in an animal's intestine, to absorb that oxygen into the blood from the lungs, but there has to be a way to get that through the entire body. And what does that?
The heart. The circulatory.
The heart and arteries and veins do that in what we call a circulatory system. Now, the temperature of a mammal is oftentimes the temperature above its environment. Certainly true leading up to today, because for you individuals who have been outside, it's not that it's cold out, but what is the approximate temperature?
Like 20-something.
Probably 40, 45 is your body temperature, 40 or 45? I hope not. Should be about 50 degrees warmer than that. So that's what we mean. Oftentimes, the temperature is way above its environment. Of course, then it's just the opposite if it's in an extremely hot environment, like in a jungle and other aspects where it needs to dissipate that heat. Okay. Yes.
Do you think if, like, for generations, like, your family has lived just, like, somewhere hot, do you think your body temperature's gonna be lower?
No. No, and it can't do that because of the proteins that drive a lot of the reactions. Those have to stay within a certain level or temperature in order to continually to survive. Now, when you're talking generations, is it possible? Yes, but you're talking millions of years, not hundreds or thousands. It would take a very long time for that to happen. Okay? So, as nature progressed, the way the man upstairs designed everything, how many chambers would a fish have for its heart?
2.
It's got 2. What about amphibians then?
3.
They've got 3, and then reptiles, birds, mammals, and humans all have this. You add the 2 together, gives a complex 4-chambered heart. And that's how it is possible to pump large amounts of oxygen through the body, large amounts of nutrients through the body. Okay? And then finally, you've got this. Whoops, it wasn't supposed to do that. Okay. This is the last one. For those of you who are gone tomorrow, it is to your advantage to watch what you had missed. It is a choice that you have to make. Well, you don't have to make it, but I advise that you make it. And then if you have not started on that vocab, you still have time, because when is it due? When is it due? When is it due? Wednesday. Because your evaluation is on Wednesday. All right, so I'm about to hand this paper out. It says due 4/10, which obviously means 2 days away because today's the 8th. So it's due on Wednesday. We'll catch up to you next time.